The second your wife says your marriage gives her less authority over her body than a stranger on the street, the marriage already sits on life support. I just didn't realize mine had been dead for months. Claire said it while standing in front of our bathroom mirror, running lotion across her thighs like I wasn't even in the room. I remember every detail because my brain replayed that moment for weeks afterward like security footage tied to a homicide investigation. I had asked one simple question. Just one. The small tattoo near her hip looked fresh, still dark around the edges, barely healed. We'd been married 11 years, and somehow my wife had managed to get permanent ink carved into her skin without mentioning it once. When did you get that? I asked. She kept rubbing lotion into her leg. Tuesday. I sat across from her at dinner Tuesday night. She talked about grocery prices and her manager at the dental office while hiding a tattoo under sweatpants. You drove all the way to Raleigh for a tattoo? I asked. Melissa booked it for me. Still calm. Still casual. Then I made the mistake that killed my marriage. Why didn't you tell me? Claire stopped rubbing lotion into her skin and looked at me through the mirror. No guilt. No hesitation. No concern. Just irritation. Because what I do with my body is none of your business. That line hit harder than finding another man in my bed. Affairs happen after respect dies. Her sentence showed me the funeral already happened. I stared at her reflection for maybe 3 seconds before nodding once and walking into my office downstairs. I closed the door, sat at my desk, and opened our joint checking account. Most husbands would argue first. I opened spreadsheets. Claire spent $1,240 3 weeks earlier at a boutique hotel downtown. The charge sat buried between Target purchases and utility bills. Another charge hit 6 days later. Same hotel, different amount. My chest tightened, but my hands stayed steady. I exported 90 days of transactions into a CSV file and started sorting merchant locations. Liquor store near her office. Parking garage downtown. Upscale steakhouse I'd never eaten at. Uber. Rides around 11:40 p.m. on Fridays she claimed belonged to girls' nights. Patterns started forming fast once emotion stopped steering the wheel. I checked our Verizon account next. One number dominated her outgoing logs. 43 calls in 30 days. Most lasted under 4 minutes. Late afternoon. Early evening. Hidden inside work hours. Efficient. Careful. Professional cheaters schedule conversations like business meetings. I copied the number into a reverse lookup site. Jason Miller. I recognized the name immediately. Regional sales rep, tall guy. Expensive watch. Too much eye contact at last year's Christmas party. Claire had called him harmless when I joked about him flirting with married women. Around midnight, I heard Claire moving upstairs. Cabinet doors opened. Water ran. Then silence. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed with a fraud alert from Chase Bank. Large transfer request pending approval. Amount, $8,500. Requested from our joint savings account. Destination account ending in 4421. An account number I had never seen before. And for the first time that night, Claire locked our bedroom door. The bedroom door stayed locked until almost 8 the next morning. Claire walked downstairs dressed for work like nothing had shifted between us. Same white blouse. Same iced coffee from the machine beside the stove. Same calm expression. She kissed my cheek on her way out and said, "See you tonight." I watched her leave while memorizing the rhythm of the lie. People think betrayal explodes into a marriage all at once. Real betrayal moves like accounting fraud. Tiny adjustments. Small missing pieces. Numbers that stop matching if you stare long enough. That morning, I skipped work and kept auditing our life. I pulled 12 months of bank records into separate folders and built a timeline around her spending patterns. Claire always claimed she hated expensive restaurants, yet open table confirmations started appearing every other Thursday under fake calendar labels like inventory meeting and team scheduling. I traced each reservation against our phone records. Same days, same time windows, same number calling her afterward. Jason Miller, 43. Calls turned into 58 by noon. I searched property records next. Jason rented a luxury apartment 15 minutes from Claire's office. High-rise building. Private parking garage. Concierge entrance. Perfect setup for someone trying to avoid attention. Then I found the detail that changed everything. Claire had added a Face ID lock to her iPad 3 months earlier. Before that, we shared everything. Streaming accounts. Password managers. Calendars. Grocery lists. Married people build digital fingerprints together over time. Then suddenly one person starts building walls. Walls always protect something. Around lunchtime, I called my attorney friend Daniel Reeves under the excuse of asking about investment restructuring. Daniel specialized in family law. Smart guy, cold guy. He listened quietly while I explained the hidden transfer request from our savings account. Freeze half your liquid assets today, he said immediately. Move your direct deposit into a separate account. Gather tax returns, retirement statements, mortgage documents, and every debt record before confrontation starts. He sounded less surprised than I expected. That bothered me more than the affair itself. Like he had walked this road with dozens of men already. You think she is preparing an exit? I asked. Daniel paused for half a second. I think she already started one. That sentence sat in my chest the rest of the day. Claire stopped acting like a wife months ago because she already viewed herself as single. I spent the next 4 hours documenting everything. Screenshots, transfers, statements, login attempts, shared assets. I changed passwords on my investment accounts and rerouted my paycheck into a new checking account under my name only. Then I ordered a credit report and saw 2 recent inquiries tied to Claire's social security number. One came from a luxury apartment complex downtown. The second came from a furniture financing company. My wife was planning another home while still sleeping in ours. Around 6:30 that evening, Claire walked into the kitchen carrying shopping bags from Sephora and Lululemon. She smiled when she saw me cooking pasta like some perfect suburban wife stepping into a commercial. You are home early, she said. I nodded once. Slow day. She walked closer and wrapped her arms around my waist for the first time in weeks. The gesture felt rehearsed, strategic, like she sensed the air changing around her. Then her Apple Watch lit up beside the counter while she opened a wine bottle. A text preview flashed across the screen before she could hide it. Jason, miss you already. Last night was worth every risk. Claire snatched the watch off the counter so fast, she almost dropped the wine bottle beside it. Her face changed for half a second. That was the real version of her. Panic, calculation, exposure. Then the mask slid back into place. Melissa keeps texting me random garbage, she said while turning the screen away from me. I kept stirring pasta sauce like I had missed the message entirely. Sounds annoying, I answered. Claire studied my face longer than usual after that. Her eyes kept searching for damage. Most cheaters stop fearing discovery once they decide their spouse feels predictable. I realized something important during dinner that night. Claire viewed me as emotionally domesticated. Safe. Manageable. The kind of husband who complained about taxes and clogged gutters while ignoring betrayal sitting 2 feet away at the dinner table. That assumption became my biggest advantage. The next morning, I started testing her patterns instead of reacting emotionally. At 9:14 a.m., I texted Claire asking if she wanted lunch later. She answered 3 minutes later. Swamped today. Doctor appointment at 1. The problem? Her office calendar still synced to our shared family account. No appointment anywhere. I opened our and T-logs again. At 12:52 p.m., she called Jason for exactly 2 minutes and 11 seconds. At 1:37 p.m., her phone pinged off a tower near his apartment downtown instead of the medical complex she mentioned. Lies create data trails. Most people just lack patience to track them. By Friday, I built an entire folder labeled Exit Strategy. Separate bank account, asset inventory, retirement balances, mortgage equity projections. I photographed serial numbers on valuables inside the house after. Daniel warned me divorces often turned into scavenger hunts once lawyers entered the picture. Claire sensed distance growing between us almost immediately. She started touching me more often. Lingering hugs, casual compliments, random kisses while passing through the kitchen. Every move felt tactical, like a politician shaking hands before an election. One night she climbed into bed beside me and rested her head on my chest after weeks of sleeping turned away from me. You have been quiet lately, she whispered. Work stress, I answered. She traced circles against my shirt for a moment. You know I love you, right? The timing almost made me laugh. Guilt always arrives dressed as affection. The next Saturday, we attended a backyard engagement party for one of Claire's co-workers. Around 30 people showed up. String lights, catered barbecue, expensive wine lined across folding tables trying too hard to look elegant. Jason arrived 20 minutes after us wearing a navy button-down rolled to his elbows like he belonged in a watch commercial. Claire spotted him before he even reached the patio gate. Her posture changed instantly. Small things. Chin lifted higher. Smile widened faster. Energy sharpened. I watched her become more awake in 3 seconds than she had looked with me in 6 months. Jason shook my hand first. Firm grip. Direct eye contact. Good seeing you again, Ethan. Confident guy? Confident people get sloppy. Claire stepped beside him holding a drink and laughed before either man finished speaking. Too comfortable. Too rehearsed. Then came the moment that finally shattered the last excuse left in my head. Jason leaned toward Claire while grabbing another beer from the cooler and said, "You still hiding that tattoo from the world, Trouble?" Claire froze. Just for a second. But long enough for me to catch it. Trouble. A private nickname. Intimate people create private language. Then Claire looked straight at me across the patio and realized I had heard every word. Claire recovered fast. Too fast. She laughed lightly, touched Jason's arm, then looked back at me with the kind of expression people use after almost slipping on ice in public. "Melissa calls me that too," she said casually. Jason took a sip from his beer and nodded along half a second late. Poor coordination. Weak recovery. I smiled once and grabbed another drink from the cooler. "Makes sense," I answered. Then I walked away before either of them could study my face any longer. That moment changed the balance completely. Claire spent months controlling the narrative while I played confused husband inside her version of reality. Now she understood I had started noticing details. Small fear entered her eyes for the first time. Fear creates mistakes. The next week proved it. Claire stopped leaving her phone unattended. She started carrying it face down even inside the house. She deleted messages faster. Switched apps constantly. Closed tabs whenever I entered the room. But paranoia always burns energy. The harder people try to erase tracks, the more tracks they create. Tuesday night around 11, Claire claimed exhaustion and went upstairs early. 10 minutes later, I logged into our home network admin panel from my office downstairs. Most people never touch router logs. I work in cybersecurity consulting. Data leaves fingerprints everywhere. Device activity showed Claire's phone connecting to encrypted messaging servers for nearly 90 minutes every night after midnight. Same traffic pattern. Same server clusters. Signal app. Telegram backup sync. Private photo cloud uploads. Then came the interesting part. Another device connected to our guest Wi-Fi twice during the previous month while I traveled for work in Charlotte. Unknown MacBook. Randomized device address. Sophisticated users randomize addresses specifically to avoid tracking. Jason sold enterprise software. Technical enough to know better. Dumb enough to connect anyway. I copied the timestamps and checked Claire's garage camera history through our Ring account. Jason's black Audi appeared outside our house at 10:43 p.m. 3 weeks earlier while I attended a conference. Claire opened the garage manually instead of using the smart opener linked to our phones. Careful. Planned. Familiar. My stomach tightened while I watched the footage, yet another feeling started replacing the pain. Clarity. Pure cold clarity. Claire had already transformed our marriage into an operational deception. Emotional attachment still clouded my judgment. Facts sharpened it again. The next morning, Daniel sent me contact information for a forensic accountant and a private investigator. Use both before confrontation, he wrote. Once exposure starts, evidence disappears fast. By Thursday, the investigator handed me a preliminary report with 3 pages of timestamps, photos, and vehicle records. Jason and Claire met at the same downtown apartment at least 8 times in 6 weeks. Afternoon visits. Late-night visits. One overnight stay confirmed through parking garage entry logs. Reading it felt strange. Relief mixed with humiliation. Like finally identifying a disease after months of symptoms. Friday evening, Claire walked into my office carrying 2 glasses of bourbon. Another tactical affection play. She sat on the edge of my desk wearing one of the sweaters I bought her last Christmas and crossed her legs slowly while studying me. "I feel like you have been distant lately," she said softly. I looked up from my laptop. Maybe I am paying attention now. Her expression tightened almost instantly. Tiny shift around the eyes. Pulse jumping in her neck. There it was again. Fear. She forced a smile afterward and slid one glass toward me. "You are imagining things, Ethan." Then her phone buzzed inside her pocket. She glanced down automatically before stopping herself. But I already caught the name lighting across the screen. Jason. And this time, Claire declined the call instead of answering it. After that party, Claire stopped treating me like a harmless husband and started treating me like a potential threat. The difference showed up everywhere. She shortened conversations when I entered rooms. She took work calls outside. She changed the password on her laptop 2 days after Jason's name appeared on her watch. Meanwhile, I became methodical. Emotion burns judgment. Systems create leverage. Daniel connected me with a forensic accountant named Linda Graves who specialized in hidden marital assets. She reviewed 6 months of our financial records over a secure video call and spotted patterns I missed entirely. Your wife rounds transfers in unusual increments, she explained while highlighting withdrawals on a shared spreadsheet. $800, $1,200, $950. She keeps amounts low enough to avoid emotional attention. Linda traced 3 separate Zelle transfers into an account connected to a property management company downtown. Same district as Jason's apartment. Then she uncovered another detail buried inside Claire's credit history. My wife had opened a rewards card under a digital billing address instead of our home address. Smart move. Paperless statements. Hidden notifications. Secret spending. Except she used the card twice at a jewelry store inside Durham. One purchase totaled $480. The second purchase happened 3 weeks later. $720. Gifts. Once cheating reaches gift exchanges, emotional attachment already entered dangerous territory. Friday afternoon, the private investigator sent another report. This one included photos. Claire stepped out of Jason's building wearing jeans and one of my old college sweatshirts she used to wear around the house on Sundays. That image hit harder than anything else so far. Affairs steal intimacy first. Sex comes later. The investigator also confirmed overnight visits happened regularly whenever my travel calendar showed conferences or client meetings. Claire studied my schedule like an operations manager. Efficient, predictable, strategic. I stopped sleeping deeply after that. Around 2 or 3 in the morning, I would wake automatically and check whether Claire lay beside me or scrolled through her phone under the blankets. Every movement started carrying meaning. Every delay triggered calculations inside my head. Tuesday night around 1:15 a.m., I woke and noticed the empty space beside me again. I walked downstairs quietly and saw a light under the laundry room door near the garage entrance. Claire stood inside whispering into her phone while leaning against the dryer. He suspects something, she murmured softly. Pause. No, he has not said anything directly yet. Another pause. I just need more time. My chest tightened instantly, but I stayed perfectly still at the end of the hallway. The apartment application should clear by next week, Claire continued. Then I can finally stop pretending every second of the day. Pretending. 11 years reduced to that word. I walked back upstairs before she saw me and stared at the ceiling for almost an hour afterward. Something shifted permanently inside me that night. Rage faded. Grief faded. Even jealousy started dying. Claire already left emotionally months ago. I was simply the last person receiving the update. The next morning, she kissed me before work and asked if I wanted to visit her parents next weekend. Same soft voice. Same fake warmth. Then she paused halfway through the kitchen and looked at me carefully. By the way, she said casually, why did you move your paycheck into another account? For the first time since this entire nightmare started, Claire smiled while asking a question she already knew the answer to. Claire held eye contact while waiting for my answer about the paycheck transfer. That smile on her face carried zero warmth. She already knew more than she should have known, which meant one thing. She had started monitoring me too. Better interest rate, I said calmly while pouring coffee into a travel mug. My financial advisor suggested restructuring a few things. Claire nodded slowly, studying every movement I made. Interesting timing. Then she grabbed her purse and walked toward the garage without another word. The second her car pulled out of the driveway, I opened our Verizon account again. 2 outgoing calls to Jason hit within 15 minutes after leaving the house. First call lasted 38 seconds. Second call lasted almost 9 minutes. Coordination calls. Damage control. I stopped pretending this marriage still existed after that morning. The game changed entirely. Claire realized I had become harder to predict, and uncertainty terrifies people who survive through manipulation. Daniel pushed me to accelerate legal preparation immediately. Once she senses separation coming, asset movement usually escalates, he warned during our meeting downtown. He reviewed every document I gathered so far and built a projected settlement map based on North Carolina marital law, home equity, retirement exposure, tax liabilities, joint debt. Claire and I built a comfortable life together over 11 years. 2 vehicles, investment accounts, vacation property shares through a family trust. Enough financial complexity to turn divorce into economic warfare if emotions exploded publicly. You need emotional discipline now, Daniel told me while sliding paperwork across the table. Your wife expects confrontation. She knows how to manipulate confrontation. Silence gives you leverage. That sentence stayed in my head the entire drive home. Silence gives you leverage. So I stopped reacting completely. Claire tested me constantly after that. She started asking subtle questions during dinner. You seem distracted lately. Are you happy right now? Do you ever wonder whether people outgrow each other? Every sentence functioned like sonar searching for emotional movement beneath the surface. I gave her nothing. Short answers. Calm tone. No accusations. No anger. Her frustration started building fast because she lost access to my emotional dashboard. One Thursday night, she came downstairs wearing makeup and heels around 7 o'clock. Melissa wants drinks downtown, she announced while checking her reflection in the hallway mirror. I looked up from my laptop. Have fun. She hesitated. Tiny pause. She expected resistance. Questions. Maybe jealousy. Instead, I returned to typing emails. That is it, she asked carefully. What? You were just okay with it? I shrugged once. You are an adult. Claire stared at me for several seconds after that. Then she grabbed her coat and left without another word. The private investigator texted me 27 minutes later with a photo of Claire entering Jason's apartment building. Timestamp included. I barely reacted anymore. That scared me more than the affair itself. Somewhere along the way, heartbreak transformed into observation. Around midnight, I received another alert from Chase Bank. Large transfer request pending approval. This time the amount reached $20,000. Destination account ending in 4,421 again. Claire escalated because she believed time was running out. I denied the transfer instantly, then forwarded screenshots to Daniel. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed with an incoming FaceTime call from Claire. I answered after the third ring. Her face appeared on screen tight, with controlled panic. Did you just block our transfer? She asked sharply. Our transfer. Interesting choice of words. Then I heard a man's voice somewhere behind her ask quietly, what happened? And Claire immediately muted the call. Claire unmuted the FaceTime call 30 seconds later, but her expression already looked rebuilt. Controlled breathing. Neutral tone. Damage management. The bank flagged the transfer, she said carefully. I figured you accidentally froze the account. I leaned back in my chair and watched her eyes instead of listening to the words. People reveal truth through timing more than language. $20,000 feels aggressive for an accident, I answered calmly. Claire forced a small laugh. I wanted to surprise you. There it was again. Another week lie delivered too quickly. With what? I asked. She hesitated for half a second. A vacation. Behind her, I caught a reflection inside a dark television screen mounted against the wall. Jason stood near the kitchen counter holding a glass in one hand while pretending to stay outside camera range. My wife sat inside another man's apartment constructing lies about vacations funded with our joint savings. Oddly enough, that moment brought peace instead of pain. The illusion finally collapsed completely. I no longer had to wonder whether I overreacted or misunderstood something. Clarity removes suffering faster than forgiveness ever could. You should come home, I told her quietly. It is late. Claire studied me carefully through the screen. She expected anger, suspicion, questions. Instead, she got calm. That unsettled her more than shouting ever would have. I will be home soon, she said slowly. Then she ended the call first. After that night, I stopped viewing Claire as my wife emotionally. Legally, yes. Practically, yes. But emotionally, something severed permanently. The next morning, I drove straight to Daniel's office before work and signed the first draft of divorce filings. Petition for dissolution. Financial protection motions. Temporary injunction requests preventing large asset transfers. Every signature felt strangely clinical, like closing business accounts after a failed merger. Daniel reviewed everything twice before placing the documents inside a gray folder. Once these get filed, he said, your marriage enters a different phase entirely. I nodded once. It already has. Claire sensed the emotional withdrawal almost immediately. That weekend, she transformed into someone almost unrecognizable. She cooked breakfast Sunday morning, wearing one of my old t-shirts. She suggested movie nights. She touched my shoulder while passing through rooms. She even initiated conversations about future travel plans 6 months away. Desperation creates imitation intimacy. The problem? I already saw the machinery underneath it. Sunday evening, she sat beside me on the couch and rested her head lightly against my arm. "I miss us," she whispered softly. I muted the television and looked at her directly for several seconds before answering. "Which version?" Her body stiffened instantly. Tiny reaction. Huge meaning. "What does that mean?" she asked carefully. "The version before the lies?" I answered. Silence crashed into the room immediately. Claire pulled away from me slowly and crossed her arms. "You are acting paranoid lately." There it was. The pivot. Manipulators usually follow the same sequence once exposure approaches. Deny. Redirect. Attack emotional stability. "Maybe," I said calmly. "Or maybe I finally started paying attention." Claire stared at me harder after that than she ever had during our entire marriage. Calculation moved behind her eyes at full speed. She realized control was slipping, but she still believed she could recover it. Then her phone buzzed on the coffee table between us. A message preview lit the screen before she grabbed it. "Jason, apartment approved. We are good now." Claire snatched the phone instantly, but she moved too late. Because this time I smiled. Claire stopped pretending after that message appeared on her screen. The mask cracked permanently. She still smiled sometimes. Still asked polite questions during dinner. Still played the role when other people watched us together. But inside the house, tension spread through every interaction like a gas leak waiting for a spark. 3 days later, I came home and found Claire sitting at the kitchen island with her laptop open and a legal pad beside her. Budget numbers covered the page in neat handwriting. Mortgage estimates. Utility projections. Furniture costs. She closed the notebook too quickly when I walked in. "Planning something?" I asked while loosening my tie. Claire forced a casual shrug. "Just organizing expenses." I nodded once and grabbed water from the refrigerator. She kept staring at me afterward. Studying. Measuring. Waiting for emotion. I gave her none. That silence started destroying her composure faster than any confrontation ever could. 2 weeks earlier, Claire controlled every emotional current inside our marriage. Now she walked through the house like someone trying to detect hidden cameras. She started checking my office drawers while I showered. She searched through my briefcase twice. One night around midnight, I caught her standing beside my desk reading paperwork under the glow of her phone flashlight. She jumped slightly when I entered the room. "You scared me," she snapped. I looked directly at the documents in her hand. Retirement account summaries. "Looking for something specific?" I asked calmly. Claire folded the papers immediately. "I thought these were tax forms." Another lie. Weak again. Fear kept making her sloppy. Meanwhile, Daniel finalized everything. Divorce petition. Financial restraints. Property protections. We scheduled filing for the following Monday morning. Once paperwork hit the court system, Claire's entire secret future would collapse into public legal reality. Friday afternoon, I took a personal day from work and rented a small furnished condo 30 minutes outside Durham under a 6-month lease. Minimal furniture. Clean layout. Quiet building. Temporary place. Fresh start. I transferred essentials there slowly over the weekend. Extra clothes. Important documents. Backup hard drives. Passport. Watches from my father. Every item moved felt like removing pieces from a burning house before the roof collapsed. Saturday evening, Claire suddenly shifted tactics again. She walked into the living room wearing the same blue dress from our 10th anniversary dinner and poured 2 glasses of wine without asking. "I booked us a weekend in Asheville next month," she said softly while handing me a glass. "I thought maybe we needed time together." I almost admired the timing. Her apartment with Jason already got approved. Legal pressure crept closer around her finances. Yet she still believed emotional manipulation could restore control. "Cancel it," I answered quietly. Claire blinked hard. "What?" "The trip." "Cancel it." Her expression darkened instantly. "You have been acting strange for weeks." Maybe I got tired of acting blind. Silence slammed between us again. This time she looked angry instead of nervous. "You think you are smarter than everybody lately," she said coldly. "You barely touch me. Barely speak to me. You move money around behind my back like some paranoid accountant." I stared at her for several seconds before answering. Interesting choice of words coming from someone building a second life downtown. Claire froze completely. Every ounce of color drained from her face. Finally, no excuses left. No room left to maneuver. Then her phone rang loudly across the kitchen counter. Jason's name filled the screen again. Claire looked at the phone, then at me. And for the first time since this entire nightmare began, she let the call keep ringing because she genuinely had no idea what move came next. Jason's call finally stopped ringing, and Claire slowly turned the phone face down on the counter between us. The room felt different after that moment. Cleaner somehow. Like every life finally lost oxygen at the same time. Claire crossed her arms tightly and stared at me with a mixture of anger and panic. "How long?" she asked quietly. "Long enough," I answered. She looked away first. That mattered more than people realize. Cheaters spend months controlling eye contact because confidence protects the illusion. The second they lose certainty, their whole performance starts collapsing under its own weight. Claire sat down slowly at the kitchen island and pressed both palms against her forehead. "You went through my phone?" she asked. "You transferred money behind my back," I replied calmly. "You built another life behind my back. Let us skip the fake outrage stage." Silence again. Real silence this time. No manipulation. No rehearsed affection. No strategic tears. Just consequences finally arriving at full speed. Claire looked smaller sitting there than I had ever seen her before. Then she asked the question people always ask once reality corners them. "What happens now?" I walked to my office downstairs and returned carrying the gray legal folder Daniel prepared earlier that week. I placed it gently on the counter beside her phone. Claire stared at the documents without touching them. "I filed this morning," I said. "Financial protections already activated. Joint transfers frozen pending review." Her breathing changed immediately. Faster. Sharper. "You filed for divorce?" she whispered. I nodded once. Claire opened the folder with trembling hands and scanned the first page. Then the second. Then the financial injunction notice. "You planned all this?" she asked softly. "You forced me to." That answer landed harder than yelling ever could have. Claire stood suddenly and paced toward the sink while gripping the papers against her chest. "Ethan, listen to me carefully," she said quickly. "Things got complicated." Jason pushed for more. I tried to end it twice. I almost laughed at the precision of that sentence. Every word carefully designed to distribute blame away from herself. "You rented an apartment," I said calmly. "You moved money. You built timelines. You coordinated exits during late-night phone calls while sleeping beside me." Claire's face tightened instantly because she realized how much I actually knew. "You tracked me?" she asked. I paid attention. Another long silence followed. Then came the sentence that finally killed whatever emotional attachment still remained inside me. Claire looked directly at me and said, "I never thought you would actually leave." There it was. The real truth beneath everything else. She believed betrayal carried zero risk because she viewed me as emotionally dependent. Stable. Predictable. Permanent. She thought I would keep absorbing humiliation forever as long as the marriage technically stayed alive. I walked upstairs after that conversation and packed the last suitcase I planned to take from the house. Clothes. Laptop. Family photos from before things turned poisonous. Downstairs, Claire started crying quietly while sitting alone beside the kitchen island. I felt sadness watching her. Genuine sadness. But sadness and trust live in different parts of the heart. One survives after the other dies. Before leaving, I removed my wedding ring and placed it carefully beside the divorce papers. Claire looked up at me with red eyes as I grabbed my car keys. "Where are you going?" she asked weakly. I opened the front door and paused for one final second before answering. "You were right," I said calmly. "What you did with your body stopped being my business the second you stopped acting like my wife." Then I walked out of the house without looking back once. 3 months later, Jason left her too. Apparently, secret relationships lose excitement once they become ordinary reality. Funny how that works. Meanwhile, I rebuilt my life quietly inside that small condo outside Durham. Better sleep. Clearer mind. Peace returning inch by inch. Looking back now, I finally understand something most people learn too late. Betrayal rarely begins with cheating. Betrayal begins the moment somebody believes your love guarantees your tolerance. And once respect leaves a relationship, the ending already started long before anybody admits it.